everyone, it's Madison Gesiotto coming to you from Middle America. As we begin 2020 and head into another presidential election year, I think there's no more important time than now to talk about the economy. As you know, people historically have voted based off their pocketbooks. People go to those polls on presidential election years and they vote based off of their view on the economy and the direct results they've seen with past administrations. We saw this in 2016 as people head to the polls, and a lot of them voted for President Trump because they were worried. They saw and experienced the negative effects of the Obama economy, and they didn't want more of the same. They wanted change, and they felt that President Trump was that change. He made a lot of promises on the campaign trail, but did he keep them? Let's take a look at the facts. You know, heading into the election and coming out of the election in 2016, Democrats and many in the media warned that we were going to see a recession. Did we see that recession? No, we didn't. And here's what the facts say. Let's start with jobs. Over 7.1 million jobs have been created since President Trump took office in 2017. And of course, over 500,000 of these jobs were manufacturing jobs. New manufacturing jobs added to the American economy that people like President Obama said would never come back. Well, guess what? These jobs came back. And these jobs went to a lot of people in my community and maybe in your community too. And, you know, as a result of the jobs that we're seeing, we saw a huge drop in the unemployment rate. And we're now seeing a 50-year low in unemployment. Unemployment is at 3.5%. But not only are we seeing an overall low in unemployment, but we're seeing an all-time low in unemployment for women. We're seeing an all-time low in unemployment for the Black American community. We're seeing an all-time low in unemployment for the Latino American community, and we're seeing an all-time low in unemployment for the Asian American community. These jobs have significantly impacted American families, and people are really, really excited about the changes that we've seen. But it doesn't stop there. Wages have risen for 16 consecutive months, and of course, the USMCA trade deal was finally ratified. And we're expected to see over 176,000 new jobs as a result of that, in addition to a potential $68.2 billion being added to the American economy. But it's not just jobs that we've seen change and the unemployment rate that we've seen go down, but we've seen incredible record-breaking stock market numbers. Whether it be the Dow, the S&P 500, or the NASDAQ, we've seen them all hit record highs under President Trump's administration. Just in the first year in office, we saw President Trump triple the presidential average, with the S&P 500 gaining 19.4% compared to the average 5.7%. We saw the Dow hit record highs over 100 times, and we've seen consumer confidence at a 19-year high, and of course, multiple quarters of consecutive GDP growth over 3%. That's incredible. And on top of that, poverty. We've seen Americans risen out of poverty and taken off food stamps. Under President Trump's administration, 7.7 less Americans rely on food stamps to feed their families. And just in the first 2 years that he was in office, the number of Americans in poverty fell by 2.5 million. This is really something I don't think enough credit is given to the Trump administration for. And part of this is because this is having a drastic impact on our communities. These are Americans that couldn't afford to feed their families before 2016. These are Americans who now are not only able to have jobs, but they're able to provide for their families. And this is a feeling, when I've talked to a couple of these Americans myself, that I think is just unparalleled and truly priceless. So people are feeding their families. They're getting jobs back. The stock market's breaking records. But you know, what else are we seeing? Well, we've seen deregulation, we've seen tax cuts, and that has that's had a lot of impact on all of these results that we've seen. Tax cuts specifically, the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was the first major tax reform that we've seen as Americans in over 30 years. Corporations brought back over $1 trillion from overseas as a direct result of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. But you know, what many people ask, and when I go around the country talking to Americans, everyday Americans like you and I, ask me, you know, well, how does this impact my family? What are the direct results that we're seeing in our communities? And you know, now that it's been over 2 years since about 2 years since the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, a lot of these Americans now have the answer to that. And that, of course, is that they've seen direct impacts. over $5.5 trillion in gross tax cuts as a result, but over 60% of that went to American families. The average tax cut for the average American family of four, making about $75,000, was $2,000. The child care tax credit was doubled from $1,000 to $2,000, and more than 6 million Americans either saw pay raises, bonuses, or increased retirement contributions. So the results have truly been incredible. And as we head into 2020 elections and we think about how we're going to vote, I know this is going to have an impact on my decision. And I know a lot of other Americans feel the same, but I want to know what you think. Do you think that you felt these results of the economy rising under the Trump administration? And will this have an impact on how you vote in 2020?